It's Friday at 1:01 Eastern, 10:01 Pacific. Do you know where your comics are? If you don't, it's probably because you didn't pre-order, and we told you to. I don't know. This is Order Up the FOC show. Normally, this is like Mathias being all like professional and stuff, but he is in a car on the way to Vegas. So if you're a Las Vegas buffet, be on the lookout. But that means I'm here. And I brought a great friend, one of my favorite people in all of comics, to join me on the show today. So we are going to get into what's on FOC this week, why you should pre-order, what you should pre-order, and all of that kind of stuff here in just a second.
Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you.
Welcome back in, everybody. This is Order Up the FOC show. That bearded charmer that you just saw is my normal compatriot on this show, Mathias Lewis of Nowhere Games and Comics. But again, he is on his way to Las Vegas for amazing Las Vegas Comic Con. Shout out to the J Brothers for putting on a hell of a show in Vegas. But when I get to see Mathias, it's usually at comic retailer events. And Mathias has a friend who is usually also at these events. And usually this friend and I are doing battle as who's the biggest Turtles nerd. And usually I'm losing. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. He is the director of, I don't know if it's marketing or sales. Look, he's a muckety muck at Magma Comics. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Elad.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Thanks
Joel,
for having me on, Kyle.
No problem, man. What exactly is your title at Magma other than Muckety Muck?
Director of Marketing and Sales, although I may have to add Muckety Muck to the next round of business cards.
I would. I definitely would. So, Joel, you have worked in and around comics for a long time, right?
Yes, I have.
So give people your CV. Tell people how you got into it and what your kind of world is.
I started actually in retail. A friend of mine and I bought an existing Diamond account in 1998 and started an online retail service. And then in the early 2000s, I joined Top Cow Productions as the director of marketing and sales. I've been a volunteer for the Hero Initiative for many years, since actually the 2000s. And then in the mid-2010s, I went to IDW Publishing. I was a direct market sales manager. And then now several of my IDW compatriots wanted to get the band back together and start a new publisher focusing on creator-owned passion projects. And that was Magma Comics. So we put out our first book in April of 2024, and we are gearing up for our second San Diego Eisner nomination, for The Pedestrian by Sean Von Gorman and Joy Esposito, and just looking forward to putting out more great stuff. So, yeah, been around the block.
Yeah, shout out The Pedestrian. Shout out Sean was on the show.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're sleeping on The Pedestrian, I'm going to come to your house and slap you awake.
You gotta pick it up. Yeah,
it's so good. It's
Very
unlike anything really that I've read in a long time.
It's difficult for me to kind of, it's so many different genres in one book. And the best thing is just try it. Like, you've got to just putting this book in people's hands. And the guys are phenomenal to work with. And we were very excited to help publish this project. They've been working on this for years. So we were thrilled to bring it to the marketplace.
I was talking to somebody about, I've been in comics now, been reading comics for 34 years, been working in comics professionally for almost 20. And the truth of the matter is it's hard to find a story that I haven't heard before.
Very true.
And The Pedestrian is one.
Yeah.
The Pedestrian is one of these stories that's like, oh, hey, this is a fresh take.
It is.
This isn't just a play on this Sam Keith book that nobody's heard of. It's a truly unique idea.
Yeah.
So I really like, and that's the stuff that Magma does it really well, is they have truly unique ideas.
Correct.
Hell's Half Acre is another great example of something that's like, that is not what I expected that to be.
Yeah, and it's gone in some fun directions. I'm lucky I get to work with the writer. My boss, Denton Tipton, writes Hell's Half Acre, and so it's been really fun to kind of I help kind of copy edit the books as well when I have time, and just to see how all these threads come together. There's a couple characters actually based on friends of ours. Even Matthias knows one of the Miss Marion is based on a real person that we worked with at IDW. So it's a lot of fun, and there's so much cool things in the background that are going to come out in the issues 3 and 4. So, we got Principles of Necromancy, you got Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, and this amazing penciler, Eamon Winkle, that just came out of the gate. This is his first big project. The guys found him on Twitter of all places, and I'm so proud of this kid. And I'm over 50, so anyone under 30 is a kid to me, unfortunately. But he's so professional and humble, but confident and respectful and on time. And he's like Kelly Jones and Greg Capullo. It's just every page is just really cool. It's so creepy and beautiful and intricate. And he just is not afraid of the work. And he's like, oh, you only want a few of the doctors from issue 3 to flesh out. He goes, I'm going to flesh all of them out. Like, he takes it on with such gusto. And he actually was a top 5 nominee for the Russ Manning Award last year. Just so proud of him, and proud of the team. Jack and Colin, I could put those two on the road and charge tickets. They're amazing. So very lucky to see all these top creators and really they're like Jack and Colin, them from Marvel, the Giant Size X-Men crossover right now, and NYX and Outsiders from DC, and they're great, but this is their baby, and so this is the one they really want the fans to embrace. And so we've been very lucky, like I said, to work with all these great people and great ideas. So,
well, make sure you guys are following everything Magma does, and we'll come back around to where you can follow and do all that kind of stuff a little bit later in the show.
Sure.
But we are going to be joined probably in 20-ish minutes by our special guest for this episode. So I want to get started with getting through some of the books. So we are going to head over to Penguin Random House, prhcomics.com. And on prhcomics.com, two things you need to know. One, for whatever reason, the coding on this website was written by me in high school, it seems. So when you get here, it's usually sorted by random. Why? I don't know. Drugs. So choose sort by title A to Z. I like this view, which is your I forget what they call it, but you're going to look at, 3. It shows 3 across, but you actually get 6 across. And you're going to have to load the whole page. So I've pre-done all of that so I can scroll top to bottom on the page here. But just preparing PRH for your use is super important. So
yeah, they show you, I think, 36 at a time. You got to click the button to load everything. And then once you got it all on the page, it'll be so helpful as we do this review.
Right. And then again, I like to sort A to Z because, that's a common way of organizing thoughts alphabetically. Not everybody has ADHD and likes their thoughts organized random, even though that is generally how my brain works. So I just want to kind of start. Again, we're going to go alphabetically. I didn't open this one, but the Akira hardcover collection, volume 1. So many of the comics you're reading and seeing are influenced by Akira. So Kodansha putting that out is certainly going to be something you may be interested in looking into. If you're looking for influences that your comic friends or the people you're reading are influenced by.
And it'll look great on your bookshelf as well.
Right. A hardcover is always nice looking on your bookshelf. All right. So Amazing Spider-Man number 8. This is the Joe Kelly run. Joe Kelly continues to crush it. Art by John Romita Jr., which, again, if I had my druthers, is the only person who would ever draw Spider-Man ever.
I understand.
Yeah, but this story continues where he's been taking it. And I don't really want to. I'm having a hard time talking about Spider-Man to people who aren't reading Spider-Man without spoiling Spider-Man right now.
Yeah.
Because, you see the axe. It's important to understand, okay. Moving on. There's also this incredible Jeff the Cow variant with, the hottest woman in the Marvel Universe, Black Cat.
Yeah, she's definitely having her moments.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I think the theme of today's show is going to be who has the best gams in comics. Because there's some
many weeks, but yes, this week in
True.
particular.
Right. So again, this incredibly beautiful Jeff Deckel variant cover of Amazing Spider-Man is one you're going to want to pick up.
Consider adding to your pile. I mean, the Gabriel Dell'Otto is obviously very striking. Dell'Otto always does a good job. But yeah, I mean the Deckel.
Right. And the Dell'Otto vegan cover too, man.
Vegan. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you say the actual word, Facebook and YouTube get all weird.
Oh, yes.
So we got to call him vegan. So, Jack Kirby's Art of the Fantastic Four. Again, this is a $60 hardcover trade, but it's Jack Kirby's Art of the Fantastic Four. I shouldn't need to sell you this.
No. Doesn't hurt. There's a big feature film coming in about a month too. So
yeah, no. Yeah, that doesn't help. Especially seeing as how I already spent a mountain of money on the Herbie popcorn candy and pop bucket.
Oh, it looks so good. Although the Galactus head, I can hold on to the sides of it when I eat.
Well, the Galactus head is 2.6 times bigger than a regular large popcorn bucket.
Yeah, just all I need
and
are
it
hooks.
Lights up.
All I need are hooks for my ears. Just have my feed bag, while I watch the movie.
Right, but at $80, I'm having to hold off on pre-ordering.
Yeah, you can pre-order it. That'd be smart. Yeah,
yeah. I'm having to hold off on pre-ordering because I spent all the money on the Herbie.
The Herbie's plus, so cute. Yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to drive an hour and a half to the closest Regal cinema to get the Superman Heat Vision popcorn popper bucket.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Superman holding onto a giant popcorn machine with his Heat Vision going into it, so it looks like when you put popcorn in it that he's popping the popcorn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend dumb money.
Didn't you do a whole show on movie merchandise? Am I remembering
just this past Wednesday?
Yeah, I need to watch it. I didn't. Yeah. I see the occasional emails. I'm a Regal subscriber. I guess I need to go look for that. The Superman Heat Vision. Wow.
It's a dope looking bucket. I'll be real honest. I'm gonna spend dumb money on these movies.
All right.
Especially because I'm renting theaters for both. So
there you go.
All right. Tyler Jenkins' Barstow is one of these kind of under the radar books that came out from Dark Horse that we read in the early versions of in stores this week when it was originally coming out as a Comixology original.
Yep.
But now we have the printed paperback from Dark Horse. So this one is definitely one to look out for if you're into weird body horror.
And I got to do a shout out. Tyler Jenkins is an amazing comic creator. I got to meet him in person multiple times doing Peter Panzerfaust with Curtis Weeb, and I adore now anything Tyler does. He did that great project with Matt Kent, just you have to pick this up. Like Tyler's work is amazing, and he's an amazing creator that is definitely worth the support. But yeah, Barstow, to have it in the physical print is going to be really cool.
Absolutely. All right, so again, we've got a Black Cat poster this week. I know that there are some people who buy anything with this dude's name at the top.
Yes.
I wonder if he's going to have a big career. You know, he's just that kid from Bill and Ted.
I think he did something with a bus that couldn't stop.
Is that the one with Sandra Bullock?
It is. And then he's like a surfer dude, whoa.
Right.
Like
in a movie with Patrick Swayze?
Patrick Swayze, baby.
Maybe if they just unplug me from the Matrix, I'll remember these things.
Yeah. Don't let the wick on the candle burn too hard. All right, let's stop.
We could do this all day, though.
We could.
So, all right. Frank Miller, Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, Epic Collection. These Marvel Epic Collections are a great way to get books you often can't necessarily swing as individual issues. Like, for instance, the book that is the cover is a $60 book at this point.
It is. First appearance.
First stick. And then this run also includes first appearance of the Hand and several other things that are big important in the Daredevil universe. So, again, this is a great way to pick up books that you might not be able to otherwise put your hands on. But this is a 500-page book for $55.
Wow.
Like, that's pretty good. It is a paperback, which I like because it makes it not weigh 1 million pounds.
Absolutely.
But, I'm always excited when these come out.
I have a friend who's actually converting his collection to these Epic Collections. Like, he's getting rid of his singles, and he just wants the Epic Collection. So
Torma is a big collector of these Epic Collections.
Torma,
frequent guest on the show. Torma. All right.
Mathias and I, we use Torma's name as a verb, especially when picking up 2 long boxes at a time, because that's a Torma skill. So every time Mathias does it, I'm like, I root him on. I'm like, Torma, and he's like,
yep.
Yeah.
Same way some other people use Kobe. Here in the comic book industry, it's Torma.
Yeah, I love this Tormamu episode. It was last week or 2 weeks ago when Torma was on.
Last week.
Yeah, Tormamu. That was great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Death of the Silver Surfer is going to a second printing. That book was super, super cool. Real unique Silver Surfer story. But there's one person I really like drawing Silver Surfer these days, and it is Trad Moore. And this sort of psychedelic almost feels like a Steranko psychedelic cover from the old days. Trad Moore's second printing. It is a ratio, but and I don't know what the ratio is, so your shop might not get it.
It's a 1 in 25, unfortunately.
There you go.
But it's
If
beautiful.
you call your shop up, maybe they'll work with you on, helping you to get one if you're into it.
Yeah.
Just a gorgeous cover.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
Next up, manga. Gonna do a manga. Disney's, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, Zero's Journey, Ultimate Manga Edition with sprayed edges. I remember when this got announced. At Retailer Summit. And it has been in print and out of print and in different forms ever since, and it constantly sells out.
Right.
So to have another edition of this, is going to be a good pick-me-up. And then because the release is end of July, hopefully shops will have it for, the spooky season and the Christmas season, which is when people are looking for this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So if you're into the manga, if you're into Nightmare Before Christmas, if you're just a goth teenager and you're like, I need this, call your local comic shop and tell them, because I guarantee you it'll sell out if you don't pre-order.
I just picture I want to flip the hair, oh, I need this. Flip the hair.
It's not a phase, Mom. I really want to be a ghost dog.
Yeah.
All right. Doom's Division continues. You've got, as always, really cool covers on the Doom's Division. I really want to see this Lee Kreese variant, but the image is not yet uploaded. Yeah. That's the thing about doing this show right when FOC closes, or when it's finalized. Sometimes it just takes a minute for the cache on the website to clear out, so we don't always have all the covers we want. But that is the direction I'm leaning. Yeah. For Doom's Division number 5 is the Lee Kreese variant. Emma Frost, the White Queen. The first issue had some heat, but when you throw Jenny Frison on it,
you can't miss.
Right. Andrea DeVito is doing incredible interiors, written by Amy Chu. Just again, the collars on this book are next level.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we have another entrant in who has the best gams in comics.
Wow.
Emma Frost is no slouch in that department.
No, not at all. So,
all right.
And with Amy Chu, you're going to get a good story. So, it's definitely a lot of fun. And if you want to know more about Emma, this series definitely hopes to provide some interesting fare.
Absolutely. All right. Coming after Emma Frost, you have some of these all ages books that are always interesting. The DK books are always a good pickup for your kids and your young peoples in your life. Fantastic Four fanfare. I'll be honest, I'm going to get real burnt out on Fantastic Four covers real fast. But if they keep putting the Thing on them, I will last a lot longer. Just saying, like, nobody wants to see Reed. Nobody wants to see Stu. Give me the other two and I'm good.
Okay.
Well, because the joke is that you just do like a blank variant, you call it the Sue Storm variant. Right? Like, but you give me Johnny Storm, you give me Ben Grimm, I'm in.
That's true. It's hard to miss.
I'd rather look at them. So yeah, absolutely. So you've got this incredibly cool Jack Kirby Hidden Gem variant. Again, Jack Kirby Fantastic Four art. I shouldn't have to sell you on that.
Absolutely.
And this Nicoletta Balderi, part of the connecting variants that we've been featuring every week. But for me, the Fantastic Four book of the week.
This one right here.
Reed Richards, Son of a Genius.
Franklin Richards.
Well, Franklin Richards, yes. Franklin Richards. Listen, if you don't know why this book is a nightmare, you clearly need to go read more Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because Franklin Richards, man, son of a genius, yes, but also like son of a B word. Like Franklin he does more damage later in life in this universe than anybody I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody I've ever read. So having young Franklin Richard kind of look like Jimmy and Mr. Neutron, or Calvin and Hobbes with Herbie, who I love. I love
say
Herbie.
Calvin and Hobbes, yeah.
Yeah. This Chris Iliopoulos, again, written and drawn by Chris with a cover by Chris.
Yeah.
And Mark Sumeric, kind of coming in as well. This is going to be fun.
Yep.
But man, everybody needs to understand that this guy, Franklin. He'll keep you up at night. From Boom Studios, Fence. I remember when Fence came out for the first time. This was their attempt at, this was Boom Studios' attempt at a version of Prince of Tennis or Assassination Classroom or some of these long-running, very popular manga in an Americanized comic form. Think slice of life at this super high-end, super competitive fencing academy.
Right.
Well, I don't know how many people can relate to that, but the stories in this are always very fun and interesting. And if you're a teenager within a certain age, this is your jam.
Mm-hmm.
So, we talked about Jackson and Colin.
There we go.
Giant-sized Dark Phoenix. Yes. Yep. Going on to a second printing with the Adam Kubert cover there with Kamala Khan homaging Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that's a fun one to pick up.
I think it's also homaging that X-Men 136 where Cyclops is holding Jean.
Right.
So
yeah, that's exactly it. It's which one is homaging which at this point?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think X-Men did it first. I think because I want to say Crisis 85 and this is 81. But anyway,
right.
But the point is,
was Crisis homaging X-Men, and then is this homaging both? Like, yeah, I'm good with it because it's still an iconic cover. It's still an iconic look.
Yeah, and this is a big event. Like this is her revisiting key moments in the last 50 years of the X-Men.
Joel, can you talk a little bit about Dark Phoenix?
So the Dark Phoenix saga. So Jean Grey in X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 101. You got Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum. She inherits this cosmic force called the Phoenix Force, and at first she's, we know it's Jean. We don't know what happened when, at the time of reading this book, when it came out, you didn't know what really happened to Jean, but Jean as the Phoenix helped the X-Men in cosmic adventures and adventures on Earth. But with any force, there is a light side and there is a dark side. And the Hellfire Club brought out the Dark Phoenix in Ms. Grey, and it became a force that the X-Men had to deal with on a cosmic level. At the time when the story was first told in the 80s, with some tragic consequences. But the Phoenix continues to rise over the years, even now. I think we're going to get to a Phoenix book later today, but Dark Phoenix, it's that corruptible force. But at the end of the day, Scott and Jean's love for each other is what saved the X-Men and the universe. And so we're going to see how this hidden participant in Kamala Khan is going to influence the Dark Phoenix saga that we got to read. Chris Claremont and John Byrne just telling the best stories ever, in my opinion. And so this is kind of an interesting twist on how this, Kamala is going to influence the events that comic fans read back in the 80s. So, Dark Phoenix. The movies don't necessarily capture Dark Phoenix the way the comics do, but Dark Phoenix is always kind of an enjoyable, lots of power on display, but also at its core, the humanity, that even a Dark Phoenix can see the light. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, Joel. That was I don't normally take a phone call during the show, but that was our special guest going, "Hey man, I'm having trouble." So we got that taken care of. So let's do this. Let's very quickly get through the next book that we have here. Give everybody a chance to kind of get their bearings. The next book I have is from the line of Godzilla continuing to attack cities where Kyle has gone to visit only to see a convention center, a hotel, a convention center, and a hotel. Godzilla versus Boston. Again, Godzilla keeps attacking places that I've gotten to visit but never see because comic conventions. This Godzilla versus America line that IDW has been doing of one shots has been super fun. Everybody is working with Godzilla at this point. DC has a Godzilla thing. Marvel has a Godzilla thing.
Yep.
I'm sure at some point Magma will have a Godzilla thing. I'm sure, IDW has a Godzilla thing. Everybody's working with Godzilla at this point. But IDW's Godzilla is actually doing the thing we all wish he would do, which is just attack cities and destroy them.
Correct. And one of the best parts is they actually get local creators for each city to work on these tales. Like Steve Orlando lives outside Boston, who, side note, actually did Magma title called The Scale Trade. But and I always pronounce Jesse's last name Lonergan. Lonergan. So
also from Boston.
Yeah. So to get Boston natives to tell the story, I'm sure definitely adds that level of authenticity to what we're going to see, maybe even hidden in the background, but also kind of the main thrust as Godzilla makes his way through Boston. So
right, like legally having a legally not Sitgo logo, which is also a Boston-based company.
Yeah.
On the cover is super fun from Hayden Sherman. So, I continue to like Boston attacking cities or Godzilla attacking cities that I've not gotten to see, even though I've been there. So, and by the way, guys, you saw when they first did this, it was Godzilla versus LA, IDW donating all of the proceeds from that book to victims of the LA wildfires. I will say this, there are many, many, many people who I am trusting with the Godzilla license right now, but I think IDW is handling it in one of the strongest ways.
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Yep. The Kaisei era is going to be a very fun tale for IDW and for the Godzilla fans out there. And Tim Seeley kind of leading that is going to be a lot of fun to read. So they've definitely, as someone who worked at IDW, the chances and the ways that they've been allowed to take the Godzilla franchise now is amazing to see. So and cannot wait to see what's next.
Yeah. And listen, if anybody from IDW is listening to this right now, if you need someone to write your Godzuki story, I'm available. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good writer, but it's Godzuki, so you don't need one. All right, guys. I want to bring on someone who I've gotten to meet a couple of times now, but they are having a moment. They had a book come out this past Wednesday. They got a book on FOC. And the company they're working with right now is really storming onto the scene with a fury. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Don Handfield from AMP Comics.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Doing good. I love the Godzuki, man. That's a great idea. So you all remember Godzuki. That's awesome.
I'm worried that not enough people do, because not enough people grew up on Cartoon Network Godzilla reruns.
They need Godzuki back, man. That's awesome. I hadn't thought about Godzuki in probably 3 decades, so thank you for that.
So, Don, tell everybody a little bit about AMP Comics and about what AMP is doing.
Yeah, so AMP is a relatively new label. I mean, we launched officially last July. We've distributed by Diamond and Lunar through Massive Indies and Simon & Schuster in the bookstore market. And we really tried to it's myself, there's Josh Starnes, who was formerly at Red 5, and David Byrne, who was at Scout also, and Josh Malkin, who's a dear friend and writer of Cabin Fever 2, and he's our editor-in-chief. And really what we did was we kind of all took our experience in indie comics and the good and the bad and the ugly, and like, how can we make and build a better mousetrap? And really for us, I think the goal was to create an ecosystem for creators that is a little more user-friendly than what's there, and also build a label that emphasizes something that I think is overlooked a lot with indie labels, which is trying to market the books, giving them a chance and helping retailers kind of move units by supporting them and really trying to get a push out to market the books. So, we did really well with Never Wars #1 in a very crazy market, with Diamond, basically out of business. So it's working so far, and obviously we have a lot of inroads on the TV and film side, which is helpful as well. And but it's been a great run. These are our offices. We're in our offices in Westwood Village. This is AMP HQ right here. So it's been a good run, man. We've got some big things coming. We're heading into production on a film based on one of our graphic novels. So we're trying to do the mini Marvel play and stepping into that pretty aggressively. And so things are moving along well.
I've been describing AMP to my client base as the them crooked vultures of indie comics. You get people from a bunch of different great indie comics, companies that maybe aren't doing what they were doing at one point, and you bring them together and you create this company that I'm like very excited about, because everything that AMP has announced sounds like an absolute banger.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah.
So
man, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had to look up traveling. I had to look up them crooked vultures. I'm so not hip, but it's traveling Wilburys basically, right? It's like
traveling Wilburys.
Kind of vibe. Okay.
You name it, right?
That's you.
But let's start with Never Wars. This is one that you got to work, that you worked on. Tell everybody what Never Wars is. Give them the pitch on Never Wars.
Yeah, Never Wars, the premise there, it starts in World War I, in the trenches of World War I, and we're following sort of the beloved characters from our childhood as they deal with sort of this massive, devastating worldwide event. And Dorothy Gale from Oz is back from Oz, and she's working in the front lines as a nurse. And there's a corporal named Corporal Crow who's we'll recognize later as the Scarecrow, who got injured. They think he deserted to get his injuries, so she's nursing him back to health, only to find out they're just going to bring him back to the front lines to execute him, which was the common thing they did back then. So she goes to her Foot Locker and gets the umbrella and the silver slippers and goes to rescue him. And what's unique about Never Wars is we have 3 different, basically issue ones. There are 3 different storylines and 3 different characters coming into it. The other perspective is Georgie Bird, who we find out is the grandson of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and he's a little boy who's like 14 or 15 years old. He's on the front lines as a digger and has his little stuffed bunny that the sergeant tells him, isn't going to be part of his life anymore, basically, and bayonets it into the ground. And then we have Peter Pan, who's a spotter for the Baron Richthofen's flying circus. And they have a new weapon, this new thing called mustard gas, which at the time was sort of like the nuke of its age because it went through gas masks. It would go through your skin, through your coat. It was this really kind of devastating, horrible. I mean, that's why it's outlawed by the Geneva Convention. It's a very, very horrible way to die. And they're going to drop it on the front lines. So all these stories kind of converge. If you read the 3 issue ones, it's 3 completely different perspectives. And then they converge when Dorothy calls a cyclone to sort of, save Crow from the mustard gas. And they all get sort of thrown back into what we call the Never World, which is a land where Neverland, Wonderland, and Oz are all coexisting as different sort of islands of this land. And they're also at war. And there's a force called the Jabberwock, who is sort of uses technology to turn good people evil. And it's really kind of a treatise. It's a revisiting all the characters we sort of grew up with, but as adults, and sort of asking the question, like, can we retain our childhood wonder in a world that's sort of, twisted by war and conflict, and kind of ultimately an anti-war treatise, but not in the way of, just international conflicts, but also sort of interpersonal ones or political ones that we're sort of going through now.
So then there was which was it? This book? Oh, sorry. Was it this issue that was out? Or no, that's issue 2.
No, issue 2 is out. Issue 1 is out now.
Right.
Issue 2, so there's 3 issue 1s. Like there's 3 out in stores now, and it's not just 3 different covers. It's 3 completely different stories. And one of the things we wanted to do was give people a choice of which way to go in, and also, it's all about perspective, right? Who's good and bad. So we wanted to kind of take people in through all the different perspectives, so they could see that, when people are considered, they're making choices that are guiding their sort of, that we maybe understand as a reader, but we wouldn't understand as an observer.
So our friend Mathias, who's normally on the show with us, he had an exclusive cover.
Oh yeah,
of Neverwhere #1. So that's cool. If you guys are into Never Wars #1, and you didn't get it ordered from your local shop, maybe, hey Mathias, like I'd need one. Which, by the way, hey Mathias, I need one.
Just a very cool cover by Rick Basildua. So
yeah, they did some really cool, and I got to give a shout out to Adam Phillips, who really helped us kind of set up some of those retailer covers, and David Byrne and Adam Phillips really kind of spearheaded that and getting it out there and getting, some special covers out.
Absolutely. So I had it on screen there, but we'll bring it up again. Never Wars issue 2, FOC'd last week.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So let people kind of know. So we kind of find out where issue 1 is going. That's clearly a flying monkey.
Yeah.
And the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
Or legally not a flying monkey and a cowardly lion, depending on how you feel about things.
Right.
Because I'll be honest, I'm terrified of flying monkeys. So anything we can call them other than that, I'm good with.
Yeah.
So this book FOC'd last week. So guys, call your comic shop. Be like, hey, I forgot, or hey, I need to order this. Get this order in for me, if you didn't already. Can you give us sort of an overarching, like, where does it go after we get to the end of that first issue where Dorothy calls everybody together?
Yeah, they basically all end up in their respective worlds. So Peter ends up in Neverland, and the guy who was his co-pilot, who's a real World War II ace, is Captain Hook. He's Peter Pan. He's forgotten how to fly, and they're fighting. And when Captain Hook realizes he forgot how to fly, he chops off his hand, and he wakes up. And Hook explains to him that it's a cycle. Like, when you grow up, you become Captain Hook. I walk the plank and die. A new boy's going to appear and become Peter Pan. And Peter Pan doesn't really want to accept this. And he says he can fly. He just needs to find Tinkerbell. And Hook explains, you've been gone forever, man. Tinkerbell was captured by the Jabberwock. She's in the Jabberwock's prison. No one's ever going to see her again. And Pan convinces Hook to go on one last adventure with him to try to save Tinkerbell. And Hook is connected to Tinkerbell because he was once Peter Pan. So they actually end up making this sort of uneasy alliance and going to sort of try to rescue Tinkerbell from the Jabberwock. So that's kind of their storyline. And then Georgie ends up back in Wonderland, and he reconnects with the Dormouse and the Mad Hatter. And the Mad Hatter has been turned sane and can no longer talk to the animals that were his friends. And he's in prison there. And basically, we find out that the Jabberwock has a technology that turns good people evil or evil people good. And he used it on the Mad Hatter, and it just made him sane. And he's sort of miserable in this state. And he ends up telling Georgie. Georgie finds out that his grandmother, Alice, is now the Red Queen and very evil and sort of behind a lot of the battling happening. And the sane Hatter convinces him that they have to go get the Vorpal Blade to kill the Jabberwock to try to save his grandmother. So that's their storyline. And then with Dorothy goes back to Oz and learns that the Cowardly Lion has been sort of leading a war against the Tin Wizard, who the Tin Wizard, sort of the Wizard of Oz in the Tin Man's armor. The Tin Man was murdered supposedly by the Cowardly Lion, and they've been at war ever since. And she wants to sort of settle this war with her, magic and kind of stop these guys from fighting that should be friends. And she runs into the Jabberwock, who turns her into the Wicked Witch and sends her after Georgie to stop him from getting the Vorpal Blade. Wow. So it becomes this real epic kind of adventure and battle between all these characters, and they all sort of intertwine and come together. It's 11 issues total, including the first 3. So it's a maxi series, I guess you would call it.
Very cool. And
That's
then
amazing.
I grabbed this because, like, I want this as a T-shirt and a giant poster, this is killer.
Oh, cool, man! I'm glad you like it. Yeah, obviously based on the World War I, Uncle Sam, and I can send you a poster, man, if you want. I'll gladly do that.
Like I said, I just want this is the kind of cover that, guys, like, this is a top 10 cover for me. When we do our top 10 of the week, this is the kind of photorealism meets history, meets everything that I dig. So I'm really liking Never Wars. I did read the Mathias had sent me some preview pages of issue 1 when we first did the FOC of issue 1, just so I knew what the heck I was talking about. Yeah. And I really dig the concept. I like the idea of 3 different childhood stories being interwoven, but a little bit off, a little bit different, just because time.
Yeah.
And that's the important part, right? Time plus childhood stories makes things different. And being able to capitalize on that is a super interesting concept.
And Yeah, the death of childhood, right? I think we're all, it's funny because we're all sort of, I grew up reading comic books. I still love comic books. I mean, I was getting in my car the other day and I was like, I get to make comic books for like 12-year-old Don would be like, bro, you are the, that's the greatest life ever.
Right.
We kind of take that for granted. I think we're all sort of, we had such magical childhoods because of the stories and the Marvel, the DC, all the things that were given to us and letting us to keep dreaming. And, I have kids. And so I always, you see that veil when they no longer believe in Santa and they no longer believe in, and it's crushing, man. It's heartbreaking as a parent to watch, but it's reality. And it's sort of, I think part of me wanted to answer the question of like, how do you maintain your sort of childhood wonder and innocence in a world that sort of, can be very painful at times. So.
Right. Yeah, no, it's Joel and I were talking about the Turtles before the show because we're both Turtles fans. It's like if I told 5-year-old Kyle, hey man, you're going to spend at minimum 12 to 14 hours a week just talking about the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
5-year-old Kyle would have slapped you across the face and called you a liar. But sure enough. So let's move on to I forgot to put it. I forgot to put it into PowerPoint. Let's move on to the book that's on FOC this week.
Yeah.
Which is Love Struck.
Yeah.
Tell us about Love Struck.
I have a cover here if you want to check it out. So
there you go.
This is issue 1, issue 2, issue 3. The Love Struck. Love Struck is and just to speak to AMP, a lot of the stuff coming out now is stuff that I had developed. So we're definitely the creator-based label, and it will not be just front-loaded because when we started the company, I had these series coming out that could run through AMP. But we do have a lot of great series by a lot of other great creators coming out that I'm very excited about. But Love Struck came about. I met a woman when I did the showrunner training program named MC Foley, and the showrunner training program is where they send you when you sell a script and they're going to make your script into a TV show to teach you how to be a showrunner and run a show. And I was unfortunate enough to do the showrunner training program after season 1 of my show. So I just got to see all the things that were done wrong not by me, but that were just done wrong by the system. But I met her and she had done the showrunner training program she's the coordinator of it. So she had done it like 30 times and she was actually a really talented writer and just kind of a character, just some people you meet that are just characters. And she had a very specific demeanor and a very specific outlook on life. And I told her, we should write something together and write a comic. And we ended up coming up with this idea called Love Struck, which is basically there's a jaded Angelino. She's in her 30s, very much based on MC, who's, sleeve tattoos, chain smoker. I don't think MC smokes, but driving a muscle car up to Griffith Park. And she's on the phone with her best friend talking about how she's going to break up with this guy. And the best friend loves this guy. He's a lawyer. He's good looking, picture Ryan Reynolds in a fanny pack. And she's driving up to Griffith Park and she passes by a flash mob marriage proposal. And she's like, that's the problem with love today. Everyone just wants likes on their Instagram instead of connection. I'm definitely breaking up with the guy. We've been going out 8 months. He doesn't know I hate hiking and he invited me on a hike. She pulls up to Griffith Park. She pulls up to the guy. He pulls out a boombox, pushes play, and she realizes the flash mob marriage proposal is for her. So she puts the car in reverse and floors it. Thunk, thunk, runs over Jack Black in a toga. Basically, and she learns that she ran over Cupid and he had materialized to shoot a couple arrows to help her out of her predicament and she ran him over. So now he's in a coma and his ghost appears to her and says, if you don't help me make people fall in love, I'm going to die and you're going to go to jail. So you set up this kind of love procedural where you have the god of love who no one can see but her, through her trying to get people to fall in love when she doesn't really believe love is a real thing anyway. So it's kind of a fun examination of modern day relationships and love and kind of a procedural, like a crime procedural, but the crimes are love stories.
I dig it. And that was the thing when you said Jack Black in a toga. I went, yeah, that makes sense because like that guy kind of looks like me with hair or Jack Black, young Jack Black.
Yeah.
I like the representation of Cupid for sure. As a real dude.
He's fun, man. I was trying to do a movie a while ago about Richard Simmons, who I love. I got to know him personally. I used to go to his studio and, what I loved about Richard Simmons, I have family members who struggle with weight problems and he was just all about loving yourself. Before Richard Simmons, everything was about like, you should work out because you're you hate yourself, and he was the one who was like, no, you should do this because you love yourself. And that to me is like an Old Testament, New Testament shift in like health and fitness. And I really loved what he did and wanted to make a movie about him for years and had it very close a couple times. But I wanted to kind of mix his spirit and that soul with like, the great other comedians like Jack Black. And by the way, we don't have Jack Black attached, but Jack, if you're listening for some reason, I love you for this, man. But yeah, just, and it's a fun role. It's a fun character and definitely an homage to Richard in some ways.
Very cool. Now, there are right now when you go to Lunar Distribution, you type in Love Struck, you get to see you see the first 3 issues here of 4. I'm gonna order the crap out of this one, if only because the Blues Brothers is my favorite movie.
Cool.
What were some of the influences behind doing the movie theater homage variant or the movie poster homage variants?
Oh man, I just always have liked those. I mean, obviously it's the kind of the melding of the two worlds that I love the most. I was raised by a single mom and, we didn't have a lot of money and she couldn't throw the football with us. So she would take us to the movies or we watched Star Trek together or whatever. So I was kind of raised on that. And movies were such a big part of my life and comic books were such a big part of my life, that combining the two is always just gives me a little, it's always fun.
So we got Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Which, like, it took me way longer to come up with Bad Boys. Like, I'm like, I know that poster, but I can't.
You got it. No, you got it.
I was staring at it. It looks familiar.
Right. That was my problem. Is I'm going, I know this poster. But what poster is it? And then obviously we have the Blues Brothers and Back to the Future.
Yeah. That's where we learn in that issue. We learn that Cupid has a power that we didn't know about, which is he can take people back. Not in time, but just they can watch something that happened in the past. And it's helpful because, you see a love story that sort of, 30 years ago, this guy was jilted at the altar and, but you get to see it and it's kind of fun. And so Back to the Future was actually appropriate for the storyline here too. So.
Nice.
Very cool. So other than the Never Wars and Love Struck, what else do you have happening at AMP? What else does AMP have going on that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, we have some really cool things happening. We have, with Love Struck, I think it's mentioned in there, but Ryan Reynolds' company is attached to produce it for a TV series. And we have an actress that's come on to attach to star, which I don't think I can mention yet, so I won't, but a very, very awesome actress who could really crush that role. So that's exciting. We have a book that is now at AMP that was at a previous label that was one of the winners of the Scripted Comic Contest, which I have a contest that started during COVID when production shut down on all the film and TV stuff, but the comic book production kept going to keep the development pipeline and keep stories going. I started the contest called Scripted Comic, and the first year the winner was a book called Vampire's Babysitter, which we made into a very successful indie comic called She Bites. That's being produced by Westbrook, which is Cobra Kai, Bel Air, and they're also, Elizabeth Banks just jumped on, she did Cocaine Bear, and they're working to make that into a TV show, which is exciting. We have a book called Widow, a horror thriller book that we're doing that we're shooting that this fall. So we're, in the process now of casting and we're putting it all together to make it this fall. That's very exciting. We have some great books in the pipeline that are coming through. David Byrne, we're doing the Stake series that's coming out soon. We just published Prodigal Son we did with Marty Cove from Cobra Kai, Sensei Kreese from Cobra Kai. That was a really fun book, a fun Western, and that was picked up by Jeff Frost, who was the head of television at Sony. Jeff's the guy who greenlit Breaking Bad, just kind of really great, television executive and producer. And that is exciting. I think they have a writer, a showrunner who's jumping onto that. We have a book called House of Lothar by Kaylin Smith that I love. It's kind of like a American manga, but with like a gothic twist. And she's just a super talent. I did a book called Loot with her. We're publishing her book that I'm really excited about. And Kodansha Japan sponsored the Scripted Comic Contest this year. So we will be publishing a book in conjunction with Kodansha Japan in the US market that they may make into a manga and publish internationally as well. So that's very exciting.
That was very smooth of me, just as a way to get a piece of Kaylin Smith original art.
Oh yeah, yeah, Kaylin's amazing, dude. You know her? Yeah, she's.
Oh yeah, Carrie's great. I've known her better part of a decade now.
She's amazing, dude. She's so talented and just great writer or great artist. Yeah, very excited to have her book, and
very excited to see what you guys can do with House of Lothar too. I mean, that book is so good.
So good, man. I want to make it into a TV show. I'm trying. I mean, that's my goal. I think, finding the right. I had one. I only sent it to one showrunner, and she loved it. She's just on another series right now, so trying to get that across the finish line too.
There was a piece we talked about when we spoke on the phone the other day that you weren't sure we could talk about. Do you know? Can we talk about that? At one point, it had a former Avenger attached to it that I know about.
Are you talking about? I don't know.
It's in the private chat if that helps.
Oh, let me see. Yeah, let me look. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they made that, so yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I mean, that was made. So I had a book called The Rift, my first comic. So I was making. I mean, I grew up reading comics. I have 15 long boxes of I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think second print. Because I mean, that's when I collected comics. Was back then. I just had, and there's a place called Hole in the Wall Books in Alexandria, Virginia. And I had a deal where they would just pull all the number ones for me. And, I had a single mom, and she would go down there, and I don't know, my mom was very pretty. So I think the guy maybe liked her too. So he would always hook me up with hey, a book I didn't reserve, but remember Samurai #1 or Fish Police? He always slipped stuff like that in there that ended up being valuable for a time, And so I grew up reading comics, man. I used to, I was a little latchkey kid who would, find change in my mom's purse to go buy Ghost Rider or something, So I always loved comics. I just, when I was making a show, and I was making Nightfall, which is a TV series that I co-created with Richard Rayner, and it wasn't the greatest experience, politically or creatively. And I was like, I want to develop another pilot. And I couldn't because of the restrictions of TV, which I didn't know about. But I made a comic. I made a comic called The Rift with. I had an intern who was making a comic. He showed me how to, find the artist, and it was the greatest experience creatively, man. I love making comics, and I proselytize about it. I bring other creators from other avenues into comics. You have amazing creative freedom, and I just love the medium, and it made me a better screenwriter because you have to think in very compressed terms and images, and you can't do a lot of things you can do. And screenplay can be like he punches a guy in the face, or he puts down there's movement and action. And this, you have to sort of show what's already happened. And it's a different skill set. But I found Pixar movies are so good because they make them as basically as comics, and they write a script, they make the comic, they write a script, they make the comic. And it's kind of the process for me, because I'm a screenwriter first and foremost. I'll write in that format at least mostly before I panel it and stuff, because it's faster for me. It's sort of like the way I've written most stuff, but it makes it better. It's like doing 5 drafts before you do 1 draft. And I love the process. And making that book was optioned by Steven Spielberg, which is the dream. And they actually made it, paid me to write the TV episode, which is also the dream. And, so I just been in love with comics ever since, man, and trying to bring as many people into the medium as possible, because I love it. And it also allows creators to own more of their own work, and screenwriting is great. But one of the other reasons I started the contest was I love the Writers Guild. I've been a member for many years, but when the Writers Guild was formed in the 1920s, we gave up copyright. So everything's a work for hire. When I wrote Nightfall, I wrote it on spec, meaning no one paid me. But as soon as they bought the script, it became a retroactive work for hire. They could fire me. They could take my name off it. I'd never see it again. And with a comic book, they're basically optioning it and you get it back. So, I think in some ways for creators, when that was done with the Writers Guild, that was before Shane Black created Predator and, these things that became icons,
right.
That I think the writers, and look, and I've been to Shane Black's house, he's doing fine, but I'm just saying, if I think the creators should share in their creative endeavors. And I think it's more important now than ever with sort of AI on the horizon, and not on the horizon, already here, and just, creating original stuff that artists, benefit from their labor. So.
Absolutely. Where can people follow you? Where can they follow AMP? Where can they find out more about everything that's happening?
Yeah, AMP is at AMP Comics. Very simple, pretty much across all of the socials, I believe. I'm at Don Handfield. I'm terrible at social media. It's definitely not good. I don't do it enough and explore enough. I'm accessible. I'm never like, it's not because I don't want to interact with people. It's because I'm social media clueless, but yeah, they can hit us on AMP Comics. We have a great social media person starting. It's going to be really kind of helping with our presence and getting us on TikTok and doing stuff like that. So should be seeing more and more of AMP as we progress. And I just want to say, I love shows like you guys. It's just what you do is so important for the community and getting the word out. And, for both retailers and creators and labels, man, because, I grew up in the era when I could go to 7-Eleven and 50 comics there, man. And, I don't know why we aren't in that world anymore, because I think if comics were in 7-Eleven, there would be more comic readers. So, maybe the world will steer back to that at some point, but I appreciate what you guys do.
Well, absolutely. And I can announce now that here at the EXP, we're going to be doing a lot more with AMP. Just again, more interviews. Shout out to Adam Phillips for being the go-between and one of the,
Adam.
Yeah,
he's great.
I make a joke that there are about 4 of us, Joel being one of them, myself, and 2 other Adams, that kind of sit in this weird spot in the industry where we know everybody, but we're not necessarily publishers, we're not necessarily creators, we're not necessarily retailers, but that's what we do. And so Adam, being a good friend in that regard, is, we're already working on a set up a time with David Byrne and Josh Starnes and some of the other rock stars over there at AMP that have been our friends for a long time, and getting the word out about this new label, which I like the term label rather than publisher or imprint. This new label, AMP Comics. So Don, I want to thank you very much. I told you we would take about a half an hour of your time.
I appreciate you, man.
So
really
I appreciate you for being here. Everybody go follow at AMP Comics everywhere on social media. And when they get that TikTok account rolling, make sure you're hitting like and reposting and clicking all the 4 things.
I'll be doing live dances on there now. I'm joking.
Yeah. Hey, don't underestimate the ability to do a dance on TikTok.
That's it.
But no,
yeah,
for sure. Interact with all their posts, because that helps grow the social media reach for everybody. Just like you would with ours, just like you would with anybody. So thank you very much, Don, for being here.
Thank you, Don.
We are going to take a 30-second commercial break so that I can remind everybody of what is happening later today here on The Experience without me having to remember things. And we will be right back to finish up the books that are on order on FOC this week, as well as our top 10 covers of the week. Maybe there's a Love Struck cover on there. We'll just have to see. We'll be right back, everybody.
Live from New York. What? Oh, sorry. Live from Cleveland? It's Friday night? It's Friday Night Live! With Nancy McCann. And Ricky. And sometimes Carlos. And featuring boxes and boxes of rare comics. Unique collectibles. Lots of smiles and conversations with new friends. Friday Night Live with Comics Unlimited. Friday night from 9 to 11 on The Experience.
All right, everybody. Friday Night Live is tonight, 9 to 11 on The Experience. Right before that, though, is the Original Art Experience. Normally with our special friend Nick Barucci, but Nikki is unavailable this week because of some big news you may have seen yesterday that we are going to talk about here in a few minutes on Order Up. But tonight's guest host and guest collection is Mike Lovitz. Mike is an incredible art collector, and he may or may not be our lawyer. So I'm hoping I don't get billed for this evening, but he will be showing us some of his incredible art collection live on the air, and you will have the opportunity to buy some of it. So make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific for that show. Now, I'm going to bring Joel back on.
Hey.
And we are going to get back to it. We're going to get back to the books that are on FOC this week. If I can click the right buttons, because I was on a roll there for a minute and then I messed up.
Yes.
So let's get back to the books that are on FOC this week. We're going to finish going through Penguin Random House.
We finished
And then-
Godzilla, so I think we're on
Yes.
Gwenpool.
Probably pretty close. Yeah, Gwenpool. Boom. So yeah, we're gonna finish going through Penguin Random House and switch over to Lunar, and run through that, and then we'll get to our top 10. So up next is Gwenpool, number 3. Again, Kevin Scott, great writer.
Yep.
Gwenpool is one of those characters that I don't think was designed for me, but God, I love it. I'm so glad with the way it's come out.
It's definitely a fun. I didn't expect the kind of the mashup, but they took it in some really great directions. So
Right.
it's not just a one-note joke like Gwenpool gets to do a lot of cool things. And yeah, Cavan, of course, very talented. It's funny because not intended, but of course, Cavan writes Night of the Slashers at Magma. I guess I have my Magma hat on still. The Gwenpool series has been a lot of fun. So highly recommend people pick it up. And there's an amazing Karen Darbo cover as well on Gwenpool 3 that's on FOC this week.
Absolutely. And by the way, Joel, that's what we call synergy, and I hate saying that, but it works out
I
perfectly.
know. I feel so dirty.
I know. I hate that word.
Well, yeah. I learned about synergy in my MBA days, and I'm just like, ugh. But no, it really works. So it shows that we definitely have a nice broad spectrum of creators that have their own creator. As Don talked about, kind of the importance of owning your creations has been one of the ways we've attracted amazing talent to tell their own stories, like Don's attracting with AMP. So
absolutely. Iron Man 10 is on FOC this week. Just want to scroll down and shout out this great Retrovision variant by Annie Wu. Again, it's got that whole Ramita and Bob Layton kind of feel to it. But speaking,
and don't forget also the Jim Mahfood variant is very cool.
Oh, sure, yes, the Jim Mahfood variant, yes, absolutely. But I wanted to jump over to this Iron Man Demon in a Bottle new printing 2. Again, so this is your classic Demon in a Bottle story. Trade paperback.
Okay. Kyle, are you sharing the screen, or
am I sharing the screen?
I only see you and me.
I clicked the wrong thing. See, this is what I'm doing. This is the problem. I'm used to pressing the buttons while Mathias talks.
Oh, okay.
Instead of me pressing the buttons and having to talk. So let's go back just a fuzz, and we'll talk about our Gwenpools here. Yeah. The Karen Darbo is there, and then again we've got this incredible Retrovision by Annie Wu. And now, Demon in a Bottle trade paperback. This is the Bob Layton story with art by Ramita Jr. and Carmine Infantino. 176-page graphic or trade paperback featuring that incredibly iconic storyline.
Yeah.
This is another one of those instances where this might be the only way you ever get to buy some of these books just because of their value, for the original printings. So make sure you check this out if you're into the classic Iron Man stories. Then coming up after Iron Man,
the Juggernaut, the hottest character in comics and video games right now. It's Jeff, the Land Shark.
I don't get it. But Kelly Thompson, man, has hit a home run.
Yeah, no, Kelly is everything she touches is gold. Jeff has leaped off the page literally, and has his own series now, and it's so much fun and entertaining to read, and it's definitely highlighted by some of the very cool covers that are out for number 2 on FOC this week. So they've really gotten a who's who gathering of some just really fun covers. But yeah, Jeff is obviously Jeff's inclusion in the Marvel Rivals game has taken Jeff to a whole new level, and this series definitely dives in and swims around and definitely builds up the Jeff landscape even more. And of course, that great art germ cover from number 1. You can now order it as a poster. So who would think art germ and Jeff, but the two went together very well. And so now you can have a full-size poster on your wall that you can tell your retailer to order for you. Jeff the Land Shark with art germ. But yeah, but Jeff number 2 is on FOC. A lot of great covers. One in particular has an unexpected character on the cover with Jeff. So
yeah, we will be talking more about this book in our top 10. But also, this is your moment. If your name is Jeff and you go as anyone else for Halloween, you're dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Just throwing it out there. Okay, we're keep it going. We've got The Last Witch, which I know Mathias has been real high on, and again, it's a great boombox from great boombox story. One that I've really been digging, Los Monsteros. Again, James Robinson has been crushing it over there. That's a book that, again, we were reading as a Comixology original, and now it's coming out in print from Dark Horse.
Yep.
All Marvel all-on-one poster, The Thing. Listen, some of the Marvel posters are great this week.
We know Kyle's going to pick it up because it's got The Thing on it. You got to love watching The Thing on a poster.
Right. What if Mark Spector was a host of Venom, a Moon Knight and Venom story? This is a paperback. I'm not sure I want to know what would happen if Mark Spector became Venom. If Moon Knight became Venom, that just might be too much. My brain might not be able to handle it.
It might. Yeah, that'd be a little too cool. Like, you don't want to give Venom that much knowledge on how to go out and conquer things the way Moon Knight probably knows how to do. So,
right.
Could be dangerous.
Absolutely. As a little kid, the first villain I ever related to might have been some of the guys that Rita controlled on Power Rangers. This is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind number 1 by Zoe Tunnel with art by Tango. Again, Boom Studios Power Rangers books, man. You can't miss it. They're great.
They got the license back in 2015, and they have taken this series in amazing ways. Of course, the Power Rangers have been on TV for over 25 years, different groups. So it is a franchise you can't ignore. And they've definitely, this is a great new series to hop into. Like Kyle said, if you want to get to know more about Rita Repulsa. So
yeah, there's this group of comic publishers, and it's Boom, IDW, and Dark Horse, that in my mind have taken existing mythos from television shows that we grew up on. Power Rangers, Firefly, Buffy, some of those, and continued the mythos and continued growing the storyline in comics. And they're doing it with such reverence and such good storytelling that it's let these characters stay alive a lot longer than they might have otherwise.
In a very kind of authentic, true to form self, you know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
When I read a Firefly story, I don't think, well, gee, Wash is dead. I think, oh, this is a great story from Firefly. When I read, Power Rangers books, I don't think, gee, I really miss, the original White Ranger. No, I like the stories they're telling because it feels like that original. Yeah, the original scripting. So
the reason we fell in love with these characters in the first place, and
right,
that mythos and that ethos that made these franchises so popular is preserved and encouraged and nourished in a way that comics can continue the story that would be too difficult in other mediums. So those publishers in particular definitely, they're not just slapping characters on a page to do it. So.
Some really cool covers for that as well.
Yep.
Okay. This is one for if you're a older dude and maybe you have teenage nieces and nephews, teenage kids that you wanted to get into comics, especially if they're girls. Monster High. World Scare number 1. Jacqueline A, which is the whole or Jackie A, I will say. Is the whole reason I picked this book. This is going to have that original Monster High feel. but it's going to appeal to your Gen Alphas.
Yeah.
That are out there. And this is a Betsy Cola cover, which
Mhm.
sort of feels vaguely Spice World to me, which is a reference that's way too old for the kids this book is targeted at.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
The Gen Alpha kids have to Google who the Spice Girls were. But no, Monster High, the licensor is very involved to make sure that the brand is represented well in these books. I mean, IW started talking to the Monster High when I was there, and that was more than a few years ago. So these are delightful books that, like Kyle said, definitely hand to your nieces. Or, people our age, hand to our nieces, and I'm really hoping that books like this help kind of bring some of the Gen Alpha kids into the comic sphere.
absolutely. We keep going. My girlfriend is 8 meters tall. By the way, if you have a girlfriend that's 8 meters tall, maybe take her to the doctor and get her checked. She probably has acromegaly. But also send her my way because that's, my jam. New Avengers second printing, aka Legally Not Thunderbolts second printing.
Right.
The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos, Volume 3 at this point by Tate Broomall.
Yep.
That book continues to be an interesting take on, and again, one of those books that doesn't go the direction I thought it would go.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book in trade at this point just because I can't keep up, but super fun.
But if you like Tate's run on House of Slaughter, I think this will be a good, another way to see Tate's talents on the printed page.
Absolutely. All right. One World Under Doom.
Doom.
I don't know what he's doing to Mr. Fantastic's head there.
Doesn't look
but
pretty.
It's going to give me nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a Ben Harvey cover. Script by Ryan North, who's been writing all of these. We were talking about in our movie merch show on Wednesday that one of the things I desperately want movie theaters to make for the Doom saga at some point is a Snuggie that you can get at the movie theater as movie merch. That's just the hood. And it's a Snuggie because you go to the movies and it's like cold.
Yeah.
They're always so cold in there. How that would be great to get Dr. Doom's cape with the hood. Anyway,
it's Doctor, not Mr. He went very hard to villain school to become a doctor.
Right, Mr. Doom.
Mr. Doom.
Right, Dr. Doom. And there are just a mountain of covers for this, including some like this J. Scott Campbell that we don't have images for quite yet.
It's going to be a Marvel Rivals cover, so the Netties, but yeah.
Right. Pete Wood's always great. And Pablo Villalobos, again, crushing it on these as well. Yeah. All right. Once we get past all of the Dooms, you have the Phoenix, again, Phoenix number 13. That book, again, super hot, super fun. But then in terms of people killing the Marvel Universe, it never seems to take. But when Predator does it, feels like maybe it'll stick.
Yeah. It feels like a job worthy of a hunter looking for a satisfactory kill.
Right.
So.
This is just a poster. I don't know when this book is going to be released or if I missed it. But Predator kills the Marvel Universe, man. If the Punisher couldn't do it, maybe the Predator can.
Yep.
And our next entrance into the best gams in comics, Psylocke, who's probably the front runner, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Benjamin Sue variant, the Retrovision. I liked it because it felt like an underground, early 90s, what would be a black and white cover of this Alyssa Wong book.
Right. I'm loving the Retrovisions in general, I guess, but you and I have been reading comics for a long time, so it's definitely tapping into something we like. But this cover turned out really well.
Right.
Of course, Maria Wolf.
Yeah. So good. Again, if you've not been reading this, you're 9 issues in, which means you're looking at a second trade paperback now from Marvel. So if you want to get caught up, that's probably the direction to go.
Mm-hmm.
But just be on the lookout for more Psylocke, because I'll be honest, staring at Psylocke is always fun. We've got, Paco Mendoza Runaways. Again, I'm way behind on the Runaways. I haven't started this series yet, so I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, I haven't touched it either. So
if you're into the kind of spin-offs of the X-Men, shout out to that one. Now, I spend a lot of time trying to come up with what is the next Dogman? What is the next Cat Cake? What is the next Dave Pilkey thing, right? And in a world where AI and robots are doing more and more and more in our life, we have Schoolbot 9000, a graphic novel by Sam Hepburn, illustrated by Sam Hepburn. This is the story of a young kid who is fed up with all the robots in his life. And then all of the teachers are replaced by robots at his school.
All right.
And this is him trying to navigate his way through a school where, again, the teachers are robots. Mm-hmm. So just imagine if the robot from the Jetsons was your teacher. How would that go? I don't know. We're going to find out. But it's from Penguin Young Readers. This is age 9 to 12, so it's a little bit older than maybe your Dogman or your Cat Kid comic clubs. But it's a great way to kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah.
The hardcover is $25. There is a soft cover for $15.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, soft cover for $15. It's a humor book for young people. And again, I think this has the potential to kind of get into that Dave Pilkey kind of world.
Right. Or keep the kids that read Dave Pilkey, now they're 9 to 12, and this is familiar to them, but more on their grade levels. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right, Sonic the Hedgehog. Again, it's one of those. We're number 80 on Sonic. It's one of the only books that goes like we've got high numbers on anymore.
Yeah, they do they have done all the appropriate miniseries, whether it ties into the 3 movies or highlight some of the characters, some of which were invented by IDW. So Sonic started when I was with the company, and so like Tangle was one of the first characters added to the Sonic universe that wasn't from the Archie run, that came from the IDW run. So, but yeah, the main series has been, it's easy to follow, no renumbering. So Sega is a great licensor to work with, and Sonic, the Sonic team, Ian Flynn, of course, a mainstay. I think he's written all of them, but it allows the fans to stay on top of the main series, and it's just been a solid performer for IDW, and definitely has fun with it, takes advantage of the full franchise. So
and if you've been to a comic shop with any kind of all ages section, you know that they can't keep a Sonic in stock.
No,
that it's constantly sold out everywhere.
Yeah, Sonic back issues. People sleep on it, and Sonic back of this. Sonic fans are intense, but for a good reason. And of course, the 1 in 10s. And anytime they do like the 900th adventure or a special one shot, retailers, you cannot go wrong, in my opinion, going for the 1 in 25s and 1 in 50s, because there are fans out there that will pay appropriately. And Natalie Fordrain has just done an amazing job with the high end, with whether it's mostly 1 in 10s, but this 1 in 25, for example, the fans will go for it and use that money to stock more of the regular editions. But yeah, highly, obviously biased. Worked on Sonic, or not directly, but worked for the company that did Sonic. So, but
Joel, like me, you're also of the age where like Sonic hit kind of at peak we're playing video games age too.
Correct. Yeah.
So it has a special place in our hearts.
Yeah.
All right. If you ever see me not talk about a David Nakayama cover on a book, go ahead and just roll me into a hole in the ground. This is Spider-Girl #1. This is the second printing. This is the Ratio Vegan cover.
Yes.
by David Nakayama. I love David's art. I have been a DNA fan for a long time. And so I just wanted to mention this one. Andre Riso is doing an incredible job on the insides of the book, which is really what sells this book. But this DNA cover, my God.
This was actually for me an honorable mention for the top 10. So
for sure.
This was But do you want a fun David Nakayama fact?
Hit me.
David Nakayama got started in comics. Do you know how Wizard Magazine used to do those contests about being an intern at a company?
Yes.
David Nakayama won the Wizard contest as penciler for Top Cow Productions in 2003, 2004. And so he came to Top Cow. Sonia Obak was the colorist winner. And sadly, I forget who was the inking winner because that guy didn't last the summer. It was the summer of 2004. And so Top Cow actually rented an apartment and brought these three people, including David and Sonia, in to work at Top Cow Productions. And David did a couple Witchblade covers. He did a series called The Proximity Effect. And that's how I met David. And he got his start in comics, his big start, by winning this Wizard contest. And he is, of course, killing it today, as I told him he would 20 years ago. But very proud of David. But yeah,
And Proximity Effect is where I think I first heard his name.
Yeah.
So I've been a fan of David's his whole career at this point.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
He's absolutely amazing. He's married, 2 kids. And he went to video games for a while, and I said, man, he got worried. I said, man, don't worry about it. You're going to come back to comics. You're going to write your own ticket. You're going to do amazing things. And he has. I mean, he's absolutely crushing it. I'm very excited because he's coming to San Diego Comic-Con next month, and I get to see him. So, but yeah, David, I've watched his career with great enthusiasm, and thanks to people like Unknown Comics that have really given him a chance to shine. And he's just one of the nicest people in comics. And he has collections of every Adam Hughes and J. Scott Campbell cover ever. Like any deep cut, he's got it. And so I could talk about David Nakayama all day long myself. So
he's on my list of people I would love to have on the experience in the future.
Okay.
But he's also working so much that I don't want to bother him. Talking to me means he's not drawing, and I want him to be.
Yeah, he got very selective on covers because he would commit to something and then get a chance to draw something he really wanted to do, but he's so responsible that he's like he had to turn down dream jobs to do the stuff he committed to, and so now he's very selective because he doesn't want to miss another great opportunity again, and so he's difficult to get, and every company wants him. So, but no, he's just knocking it out of the park. And
I'll never forget Nikki. They had just announced Gargoyles.
Okay.
Dynamite, and Nick sends me a bunch of the covers, going, which of these covers do you like best? And I go, if the David Nakayama isn't the A, I will come to New Jersey and color on all the others. Like. It was so good. And again, it didn't wind up being the A, but I think it was the B, and that's fine. Like
I thought it was the A.
It might have been. I can't remember who was the A.
I think he listened to you.
It was Lucio Perillo.
No, I think David was the A cover.
Yeah, David was the A cover. But you know what I'm saying? Like this. It's such a perfect fit. So shout out to David Nakayama. Absolutely. Eventually we'll have you on the air. All right. Spider-Verse versus the Venomverse. Number 3.
Coming.
You did know it was coming. And I'll be honest, in a world where you have Jan Balduza and an In-Hyuk Lee, which, remember what I said at the beginning of the show, Joel? My goal is to get through this without mispronouncing anybody's name. I just failed. For me to say I like the Luciano Vecchio A cover means that this cover is really fire. And it is.
It is.
Like, absolutely. This is such a cool cover on a series that I didn't think I was going to like. Because really, do we really need this? Really? Do we really? Yeah, it turns out we do.
Yes, we do. The answer is yes.
Right? So, turns out we do, and I'm not angry at it.
Good.
All right. something that is frequently mispronounced and it drives me nuts is Dr. Aphra from Star Wars. Star Wars Dr. Aphra, Chaos Agent number 2. This is the Marguerite Sauvage variant. Issue 1 was really cool, and I like the fact that this is a character that was created in the comics that then moved over to the real world and is having their mythos expanded in the comics. So this is super fun for me. And this is part of this celebration of Star Wars being at Marvel for 10 years in this current iteration, which, it makes me feel real old all of a sudden.
Yeah, I remember 2015. Star Wars number 1, there was like 80 covers, but it was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, there's a ton of covers for this book. We're not going to get into all of them, but again, if you dig Dr. Aphra, this is another one. Go grab Chaos Agent number 1 and hand it to your teenage comic fans, especially the girls. If again, your nieces, your daughters, whatever, who you're trying to get into comics, I think they will relate to Dr. Aphra, Chaos Agent number 1 and number 2. All right. There's a bunch of great Star Wars hyperspace stories. Tides of Terror number 1 by George Mann is something that if you've been reading the hyperspace stories, you're going to want to jump on. Again, you got Star Wars High Republic number 2 or number 20 of Phase 3. We could talk Star Wars all day. Storm, another entrance for best gams in comics. Although, let's be honest, it's best hair in comics. This series has been really good. My friends over at Black Comics Universe have really been high on this book and the storytelling and the style of this book. So shout out to that. But again, you're 10 issues in, so this is going to be the end of your second trade paperback. So now would be a good time to jump in with issue 11, which is the next issue on FOC. And pick up the trades going back to the first volume if you want to get caught up.
By the way, I'm remiss. We've had great commenting by both TJ James and, of course, the incomparable Danny Ward, who remind us that Rosie the robot from the Jetsons was what you were referring to. And, of course, anything the Hedgehog is a treat. So shout out. Sorry, TJ and Danny. Didn't mean to say it with your comments. Thank you guys for watching. And
TJ isn't wrong.
Yeah.
2 Comics Pros ago in Pittsburgh, I got to meet her. And I don't get starstruck, but I did humana a little bit.
She was so nice.
I understand.
Boom actually walked her over to my table, and she was so nice.
No, I understand, but like, I don't get starstruck, but
yeah.
Between being the Pink Power Ranger and that show Flashpoint she was on, Amy Jo Johnson is one of my all-time favorite actresses. Okay. In an opportunity just to butter my own bread a little bit, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Nation Volume 1, Tom Waltz, Eric Burnham, Vincenzo Federici.
Yeah.
The Casey Jones Agent of the Foot Clan here is a slept-on backup story that Eric did in these Mutant Nation books, and this was a great story that kind of bridged that gap between where TMNT was coming out of Apocalypse game or Armageddon game and where TMNT was in Last Ronin. You kind of got a little bit of a feel of both, but super fun 208-page trade there.
Yep.
But again, if you need the single issues, you probably know a guy. Uncanny X-Men number 18. Again, we've got Ultimate Wolverine Volume 1, The Winter Soldier, if you're behind on the Ultimates. But Uncanny X-Men, we're talking about GAMS.
Greg Land, drawn
and Rogue. Yep. But Gail Simone.
Yeah.
I do not care about the X-Men. I just say it. It has never been my jam, but Gail Simone is making me.
There you go.
The storytelling Gail is doing in this series is converting me from being the X-Men are fine too. Well, I got to read the new X-Men every month. Like, I can't miss that one. So shout out to Gail for making me into a convert. But again, this is Luciano Vecchio interiors with this Greg Land Rogue variant. Super cool.
Absolutely.
Jerry Duggan writing West Coast Avengers is super fun. Saladin Ahmed, this is another one of those. I got to shout out a homie. Saladin Ahmed's writing Wolverine. Again, I don't care about Wolverine, but I love Saladin Ahmed's writing, and so I have been reading this Wolverine as well. So I just wanted to shout this out again.
Yeah.
Because if you can make me read mutants that aren't turtles, you're doing something right. And then the last thing I want to mention is not a comic book. The last thing over here on PRH that I want to mention is not a comic book. It is the World of Edgar Allan Poe Conversation Puzzle. Again, this is me buttering my own bread and giving a shout out to the Edgar Allan Poe House and Museum in Baltimore, which is one of my customers, one of my clients. I work for them. I put on Poe Fest. Again, Poe is super popular these days. Again, horror, horror is in so much the forefront that the originator of American horror, is having his own moment. So shout out to Edgar Allan Poe. Jackie Oakley did the art, is the author. So I'm trying to get Jackie to come to the festival this year, but we'll see what happens.
Could be cool.
Yeah. Now we are going to head over to lunardistribution.com, and you're going to scroll down past the publisher catalogs, which we had some publisher catalog news that's super sad this week about previews.
Yeah.
We're going to scroll past the previews section, and we're going to come here to upcoming FOC. Now, two things I want to mention. First, make sure you choose the right week.
Yeah.
It's super important because Lunar is adding more and more publishers every week, more and more companies all the time. It's getting harder to make sure you don't miss anything in the Lunar FOC catalog. So the thing that Lunar does and that PRH does that previews never did was you can look forward. You can look a few weeks ahead. So for my own personal use, I'm actually through mid-July looking at FOC, and then every week new things get added. So I go back and I look, and add new things and keep my list updated. But going forward and looking is super helpful. Like, for instance, I already on my FOC list for next week have my Hornsby and Halo, my Red Coat, or not my Red Coat, my Hornsby and Halo, my Rockefellers, all of my Geiger, all my Ghost Machine stuff that's already in for next week. All that information is already there. All of my Spawn stuff for next week, I already have written down. So when I talk to my LCS this week, I can just be like, hey, not on FOC till next week, but here. Just letting you get ahead in your numbering. So just shout out that's a possibility now. The other thing I want to mention, and this is big news. People have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Dynamite is officially now at Lunar Distribution. So
boom goes the Dynamite. Like, that is a huge announcement.
It is. So if you looked at FOC yesterday on Lunar Distribution, there were a lot less things on it. There were a lot less little dots at the bottom.
Yeah.
So just know, looking ahead and planning ahead means you have to do less of that management of going, wait, was this here the last time? I don't remember, but it's not on my list and I need it to be. So just knowing, being prepared, ordering comics like you're a Boy Scout is going to be super important as, again, this distribution game keeps changing. So
and one quick note, as you look ahead, still verify it the week of, because things do shift, and sometimes that shift doesn't happen until the publisher gets notified, like, all right, what are you locking down for the week? And that's why Friday at, I think it's noon
10 o'clock Eastern.
10 o'clock Eastern.
Or 10 o'clock Pacific, sorry.
Yeah, so, right now you may see something next week if it gets pushed for whatever reason. Always verify it the week of, but yes, do the homework, because don't try to do everything at the last minute. So that's a good tip.
Well, and again,
to definitely look ahead.
Most of your LCSs, if you get them stuff and then it gets pushed, they're not going to be angry at you because you got them stuff early.
Correct.
You know, you might have to remind them, but they're not going to be angry at you. So starting over here on Lunar, you've got the Absolute Batmans. The 1 in 25 Derek Robertson is super cool, but we're 10 issues into Absolute Batman. This is something I don't know that I needed. Absolute Batman Long Halloween hardcover. Give me back my Jeff
format is very cool, and to see Tim Sale's art like that, I think people do need it.
Give me back my original Tim Sale, but I'm gonna buy that too.
Hydra Asylum Comics is dropping his like.
Yes, Hydra Asylum. What up, Jay? Absolute Flash. Again, we've got some really cool versions of the Flash here on the Absolute Flash variant or Absolute Flash covers this week. We're beginning to see more of these books that had previously been offered through other distribution coming over to the Lunar side, like the Babysitters Club, which has been around forever. In the past, we've seen your Dogmans being added and some of this other stuff. So keep an eye out on stuff that you may have asked your LCS to pre-order for you or to put on your FOC list in the past that they now have to change because it's now at a different distributor. The Batman 655 facsimile. Again, this is just a page-for-page reprint of the original.
First Damian Wayne, but that Superpowers action figure cover is very cool.
Right. I mean, I always have loved the Andy Kubert cover of this.
And now you can get it in foil.
Right. Yeah. But you're talking Grant Morrison and Andy Kubert, and Grant Morrison coming back and doing the forthcoming Batman Deadpool story from DC is going to be super interesting.
Yeah.
We've got this Frank Quietly. I like Frank Quietly's art. Frank Quietly face is my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. But we've got this Mark Waid with art by Chris Samney, Batman and Robin Year One, with a Frank Quietly cover that looks almost vaguely Jay Lee, but it's Frank Quietly. Benjamin #1 was out this week. If you didn't, or maybe last week, out in the last 2 weeks, if you didn't read it, check it out. It is a unique and interesting story that, again, is one of those books that didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
Blood and Thunder. The thing that sells this book for me is the art. That the art style is
electric.
It's almost like a little bit looser J. Scott Campbell style.
Yeah.
It's got this really cool look to it. And the hair, man, is how they should be treating Medusa's hair over at Marvel. Hey, Marvel, hire this guy.
Exactly. Anyway. Wow. I don't think Kirkman wants to give him up just yet, but
no.
Yeah. By the way, hey to Kenneth Bird dropping in from Virginia.
What's up, Kenneth? Okay. So Darkstalkers versus Street Fighter. We were talking about this before the show. When you see Darkstalkers, you think Street Fighter anymore. Although they do have independent runs over there at
Udon?
Udon, sorry. Yes, Udon. But this is #1 Street Fighter Blood Throne. It's a one-shot. You're not jumping in too far, but this is Tim Seeley, Alberto Albuquerque. Previously FOC'd, but it's back on FOC, giving you an opportunity at a new distributor to get it. We'll talk maybe a little bit more about that in the top 10. DC X Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Sonic, and now you have Super Sonic. Super Tails.
Yeah. Super Knuckles.
Super Knuckles. Listen.
So yeah, you had this. They had a Sonic as the Flash, of course, in the second printing. And then the third printing, I think it was Batman. And so now, of course, you've got to have a Superman rendition. But,
right. Yeah. This is the cover I ordered. I don't like Knuckles. That's why I'm going to misname Knuckles all the time. Sure. But when you could put all of these characters in Darkseid's head.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
You sold me. Yeah. By the way, it's Dark Side, not Dark Seed. That's another one of those. It makes my head twitch.
Mispronunciations, yes.
Yeah. Guys, Detective Comics is almost to 1,100 issues.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, let's talk about that. 1,100 issues coming up on Detective Comics. I'm sure that will be a cool thing, but you know, Jay Lee just crushing it on these DC covers right now.
Absolutely.
All right. Dread the Hall H.
Yes.
Chris Ryle, Jordan Hart, with Nelson Daniel and Peter Kowalski art. Joel's getting ready for San Diego, and thank God I'm not going. It is comic convention season, and what better to I'm just going to read it to you. What better way to celebrate Comic-Cons than an extra-length anthology filled with con-related horror stories, like going to the bathroom at San Diego Comic-Con or trying to buy a slice of pizza at San Diego Comic-Con. Last year, they skewered all things Christmas on the pages of Dread the Halls.
Yep.
Now it's Dread the Hall H.
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't know, it's the scary part of San Diego.
It can be. I always say the safest place is to be behind a booth. But yeah, the guys, I mean, Chris was editor-in-chief at IDW for more than a decade. And Jordan, huge into comics. And they just, took their creator friends and said, let's capture kind of the fun stories that they've witnessed and give it that Dread, style. And so it's a great, obviously, Rom. Chris Ryle's the world's biggest Rom fan, so you can see Rom on the left-hand side of that wraparound cover. I think Jordan is with the longer hair. He's in the W. Letterman's jacket, standing. I think they put themselves on the cover as well. But yeah, it's a fun way to kind of take those horror stories that they've either witnessed or heard about from their friends and give it the Dread the Halls style anthology. So of course it's perfectly timed. It drops the Wednesday of San Diego Comic-Con. And they got covers by folks even like Maria Wolf, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's definitely if you ever experience bigger cons, poor Kyle's normally working behind the scenes at cons. Like he says, he sees hotels and convention centers and not much else. But Jordan actually put together this 1 in 10. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure the guys will do a signing at Image Comics booth at the show when this comes out. So. And yeah, Jordan, just one of his smile is infectious. So the guys did a signing at Mathias' store, Nowhere Games and Comics, in San Marcos, California, when Dread the Halls for the Christmas book came out. So they were talking about this book here 6 months ago. So I'm excited to see it come out in print.
Absolutely. So next up, the new EC book. We've got another new EC from our friends over at Oni Press. John Arcudi, Marguerite Bennett, Matt Kint, with Matt Pizzalongo and David Lapham and David McCain art. This is Catacomb of Torment. So again, this is a new bloody ongoing EC. This again feels more traditional EC to me. Yeah. With a more modern flair. But if you don't recognize Audrey, right here on the cover.
There you go. Feed Miss Seymour.
Right. Then what are you even doing? So Catacomb of Torment from them. And then I do love this Jay Stevens 1 in 10 that has that Oni Press. I'm going to forget the name of the book that Jay does. The Jay Stevens does over there.
Oh God. Yeah. What is Dwellings?
Yes. Dwellings. Thank you.
Dwellings.
Yeah. Oh, that was going to make me so angry if I couldn't think of it, but it really has that cool Dwellings, like dark Archie vibe.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, his covers are just, I mean, this Crime Suspense Stories 22 homage is so cool. I hope they collect all of his covers. It's so cool. But yeah, Dwellings is a very interesting, fun read. So,
all right. We're going to pick up the pace just a little bit. Again, Gargoyles is at Lunar now with Gargoyles Demona #1. This is the B cover. This is the Jay Lee. Gargoyles, now your stores can start getting Gargoyles again. reliably through Lunar distribution. This is some big news. Many of us have been waiting months for this, and congratulations to Nick and the team at Dynamite for getting their new contract, getting everything worked out to get this brought over to Lunar.
You've got a veteran animator, Frank Parr, working with Gargoyles creator Greg Weisman on the series, so cannot miss, and we'll talk about this a little more at the end.
Yeah, Ghost Pepper, which is written and drawn by Ludo Labali. This is for fans of The Moon is Following Us. This really does feel like a sequel. Not a sequel, but a emotional sequel, maybe, to some of Ludo's other works. But super fun, sort of sci-fi, futuristic action horror.
Yeah.
So the thing that sold me on this book was this line: cutthroat food trucks. I didn't know what that meant until I read this book, and cutthroat food trucks.
Yeah.
So that's Ghost Pepper number 1. We've got G.I. Joe continuing from Skybound, which is super fun. We didn't talk about Golden Rage when it came out, but I'm loving Golden Rage. Mother Knows Best. Again, that's Hunger Games meets Golden Girls meets Great British Baking Show.
Okay.
Gotham City Sirens, always popular. Green Lantern number 25. Why this is the only book on FOC this week, I don't know, but
I'm assuming because of the glow in the dark, it takes more time, so you
probably ordering it a week early or two.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that later. Heat Seeker, Brown Chicken Brown.
Yeah.
Great action story from Titan, from their hard case crime, but we got to keep scrolling because some of those are very illegal covers.
Yeah, some of them will get you in trouble.
Yeah, Humanoids number 5 or Herculoids number 5. Again, it ain't for me, but if it's for you, you're loving it. And the Joseph Michael Linsner covers have been super fun with the blobby things.
It's a fun franchise come back to life. So.
I Was a Fascist School Serial Killer is a book I wouldn't have read if Mathias didn't tell me I needed to, and he was right. Great story, super fun. Again, action slasher kind of story. Howl from Ahoy Comics. This book was great. Think about any dysfunctional marriage, but the whole thing is set in science fiction and led by a science fiction writer. So what he writes becomes real, and it just gets crazy.
Right.
Battle Beast continues to be one of the hottest properties in comics.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. While again I say often I am not an Invincible guy, it's hard to argue with this book because this book is awesome.
And of course, you got a Dave Nakayama cover. So, but
I was going to talk about
do not sleep on Battle Beast, and of course the Simon Bisley 1/100. That's gorgeous.
Right.
So
right.
But yeah, I think Kirkman and Otley will make you care about Battle Beast if you read the series.
No, it's true. That's what I'm saying. You can't argue with how great that book has been. Crypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, number 2. Number 1 was so good. Such an emotional story. And again, an interesting expansion of the crypto mythos that I really like. We have Lenore the Time War. We have a direct market hardcover and a regular from
Classic
Roman Dirge.
Roman Dirge. Yep.
Right, the direct market by Kit Wallace. Love Struck, which we talked about earlier. Again, 3 Love Struck covers. Mark Spears Monsters, number 3, second printing. We keep getting more and more printings of Mark Spears Monsters because people keep buying more and more printings of Mark Spears Monsters.
Yes, they do.
When will it stop? Who cares? It's great. Mega Man X Timelines. Mega Man feels a lot like Sonic to a certain era of comic and video game fans. So shout out to them. Devil's Due, Mercy Sparks, Daddy Issues number 1. Josh Blaylock is back, but this is part of that massive indies group that is allowing some of these smaller publishers to get in at Lunar.
Yep.
Moana, the New Adventures of Moana hardcover from Paper Cuts was so good. Nightwing 128. For me, it's always this, like the Gotham
Gonna be
City
about the
Sirens
Sirens.
covers. Yeah.
Yeah, but Dan Waters definitely building on, a lot of the stuff that Tom Taylor brought to the series. So
Absolutely. Mars attack. Red Sonja attacks Mars. Is now back again. We're talking about Dynamite is back now, doing publications here through Lunar. So, if you're a little behind on Red Sonja, now's the time to get caught back up and jump back in. As well as Red Sonja Noir. This is a Lyrics Lee, even though they used her government name on the solicitation. It's a one-shot Red Sonja Noir by David Avalone and Idumena, I think is how you say that, with a Lyrics Lee A cover. That looks super fun. Good collars on that book. But again, the cosplay variants you almost can never go wrong with, as well as the Joseph Michael Linsner
absolutely.
Covers. Red Sonja AOD. Again, I don't need to sell you on Red Sonja about fighting Deadites. If I do, we have bigger conversations to have. Red Coat, number 13. Guys.
Seriously. Yeah.
Remember how I said... Yeah, go ahead.
You need to be stocking Red Coat in your stores, like hands down.
Do you remember how I said Red Coat 11 was a masterclass in storytelling?
I do.
And then I said Red Coat 12 was one of the best issues of comics I've read in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Red Coat 13 gave me a holy crap, someone help me pick my jaw up off the floor moment, and left me hanging at the end. Jeff is doing a truly masterful job of taking his time, telling a story, letting you digest the story, and then slapping you about the face with more story that just keeps you hungry for more.
Yeah.
I personally have ordered every cover of this book. I do have about 4 copies of this one coming.
Nice.
The Duncan Figueredo cover. Just because I think this cover is, in the pencil work on this is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Danny in the comments and Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch for making me excited about something. Like, I'm excited about comics, but like I'm always excited when there's a Red Coat coming out.
Yeah. And
there's a Red Coat on FOC. Like, I start counting the days. So shout out to those guys in that book. Space Ghost Annual. Hashtag not my Space Ghost, but if he's your Space Ghost, jump on this one. Until he's arguing with Brack behind a desk, I'm going to continue to say not my Space Ghost.
It's a lot of fun, though.
It is. And again, Bjorn Barron's doing his best Jay Lee.
Yeah.
Is absolutely gorgeous. Space Quest. Johnny Quest teams up with Space Ghost. Do I really need to tell you more? I don't. All right, Spawn 366. Got a great Brett Booth, but for me, it's this one right here. It's the Don Aguilo variant. Aguilo variant. Again, Brett Booth interiors are absolutely crushing it, but Todd and Brett are doing a great job with Spawn right now. Spectrum trade paperback. Rick Quinn and Dave Chisholm. This was a book that basically every issue made me cry.
Okay.
It really is talking about the beauty around you, the art, the music, the beauty in the world around you, even if you don't necessarily notice it. And if you're someone who's at all artistic, at all creative, it's going to speak to you differently than it spoke to me. But that's the beauty of this book, is it speaks to everybody in a different way.
Okay.
Superman Unlimited. It ends tonight. Written by Jerry Duggan with interiors by Jay Lee. It's been a long time since Jay Lee did interiors. It was Seven Sons, I'm almost sure.
Yeah.
But Jerry Duggan, who's on a hot streak right now with Falling in Love on the Path to Hell and his X-Men run. It's 3 interconnected stories set in Vegas, of revenge and, kind of violence. There is a Adam Hughes cover coming.
Yep.
But this is Thelma and Louise if Quentin Tarantino had directed it.
Yeah.
There's your Adam Hughes, which is really cool.
Yeah. But check with your retailer
Mm-hmm.
if they qualify for the Adam Hughes covers.
Right. I mean, 1 in 25, 1 in 50. You got to make sure they're ordering up. And then, like, again, you've got this sketch cover, J. Lee Convention sketch cover. That's a 1 in 100. Again, your shop may not
1
be
in 500. Yeah. Basically, that's an
1 in
original
500,
sketch.
yeah.
So that's a sample of what you would get.
Right. Your retailer probably not jumping up to that level necessarily, but ask them. They might.
But there's a blank cover, and if you go CJ at a convention, you could put that together yourself as well. But
it's true.
They want to promote the series, and so they've put together a nice little program. So again, it's Dugan and Lee. It's a lot of action, and it's J. Lee interiors. Like, we can't stress that enough.
Right. Mm-hmm. Thundercats. Whoa, ayo, ayo. Anyway, Thundercats is back on regular solicitation again. Nick really loves these Mannix covers. I like that Mannix draws his people looking vaguely like they're from The Simpsons. But again, we just keep talking. Jay Lee keeps hitting home run after home run. But Drew Moss is the one that I really was drawn to here. With like the duct tape kind of look. So, all right. Vampirella. Again, if you need a book with collars, Vampirella is the right way to go.
She's got some nice gams on her too.
She does. She's really known for her collars.
Yes.
And again, you've got the Mark Spears.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily an incentive. It's it's an open order foil. We go with the Mark Spears. So you'll be able to get a hold of that one, no problem. I do like the red background better though, but
for whatever mood, there's a cover for it.
Right. Walking Dead Deluxe 117. Again, if you couldn't read The Walking Dead because it was in black and white, I'm looking at you, Ed. You can read The Walking Dead now because it's in color.
And it's a really great. It's part of All Out War, so it's all the different factions interacting.
Right.
Yeah, this was double shipping when it first came out, so yeah, it's a great storyline to jump into. But next up is Witchblade.
Right, Witchblade Art Germ. Again, another entrance in our best scams in comics. Marguerite Bennett writing Witchblade is super fun. This is a key issue part 1. Key issue alert, part 1. If they tell you that, you should probably order it. I'm not going to read you the solicitation because you can yourself at lunardistribution.com. But again, Art Germ on Witchblade. Wonder Woman. The Tom King Wonder Woman continues to impress. I know some people aren't loving it, but I am really liking Tom King's Wonder Woman. You've got this beautiful David Nakayama Wonder Woman again. Again, it's a different look at Wonder Woman. Adam Hughes, Gotham City Sirens. It's a different look at Wonder Woman that you don't get to see all the time. Zootopia, which again, we covered a few weeks ago when it was on Previews World, but now that it's over at Lunar, this stuff is going to have to be reordered. So make sure if you want the beautiful Craig Rousseau color bleed, negative space sort of version of Jeff Parker's Zootopia number 4, you go back into your shop and make sure they order it for you. All right, Joel, we have gone along. We're going to get into the top 10, and we're going to fly through it here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Zatanna,
and yes, TJ Zatanna has top 10 gams as well.
True. All right, let's start with number 10. EC Catacombs of Torment, the cover B. This is the Tom Fowler variant. The A cover gave me a little bit of nightmares, but the Tom Fowler cover I like a little bit. I like it because it's so different from what you would expect to see on Catacombs of Torment. And again, I tried not to get into incentive covers in my top 10 because not every shop gets them.
Right.
So trying to stick with that. We do have the bonus variant of Gargoyles Demona at number 9. This is the Mark Spears black background FOC bonus variant. So this was not originally solicited in previews catalog and that kind of stuff. This is an FOC exclusive bonus with a black background. She really pops off that black background.
Absolutely.
It ends tonight. This is the cover A, Jay Lee. Again, Jay Lee interiors, Jay Lee covers. If Jay Lee wanted to write it, I would buy it even faster. Love Jay Lee, but I love Jerry Duggan as well. Yeah. So this is an exciting book. Number 7, Green Lantern 25. This is the Steven Subic glow-in-the-dark foil variant. Again, this was the only book solicited, but I like the muscular work and the glow-in-the-dark work is really cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this in print.
Number 6, Godzilla versus Boston. This is a retailer incentive, so this is a 1 in 25. But again, it's the Lonergan, the Jesse Lonergan black and white full art. It's so cool.
Yeah.
That it had to make the list. And it's got his version of Kirby Crackle in the background there. So again, if your shop jumps up to 25, this is one to pick up. Or talk to your shop about how you can help them get to 25.
Sure.
Get to 25. Darkstalker Street Fighter Blood Throne number 1. This is the C cover by Dax Gordine. I like the chibi version of this cover just because it feels vaguely like Bluey.
Okay.
When you start looking at it, it's got this Bluey kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But it's also got when are we going to see Darkstalkers with this art crossover with like I Hate Fairyland?
Yeah, I don't think we will. So this is a great way to pick up.
Like it feels like it could with this art style. Ghost Pepper number 1. This is the B. This is the Art Germ cover. Again, like Art Germ drawing hot ladies. Like it's going to make the list.
Yeah.
But I chose Ghost Pepper over Witchblade because this one leaves a little something to the imagination, whereas Witchblade doesn't. And again, like food truck battles.
There you go.
Number 5 does have a bone vibe, TJ. Love Struck, number 3. This is the B cover by Alonso Molina. This is the Bad Boys variant, Bad Boys homage. Again, this just feels like maybe appropriate for the storyline. The mugshot cover was also cool, but I just think I think these movie poster variants homages are going to be the way to go on this book. It's Jeff, the Land Shark, the Aaron Cooter variant. Again, I don't get Jeff, but I love MODOK. So Jeff battling MODOK in a very Jeff kind of way.
Yeah, you got to love it.
It's super fun on this cover. And again, Aaron Cooter, I've been a fan of since the Venom Youngbloods variants he started doing. So when he was a Young Guns, Marvel did Young Guns, and he did some Venom variants that were incredible. And last but not least, Dread the Hall H one shot, cover D by Maria Wolf. This is the vegan. Again, if you feel like I do about people who only go to Comic-Con to get books graded, this feels appropriate. Or this also feels appropriate for how I feel after a 5-day Comic-Con. I am definitely a zombie.
Yeah.
So I like this. I like this sort of psychedelic feel of this cover. I like the veganism of it, and then again, as people like my friend Joel and others prepare for San Diego, we're all in it, man. It's happening to all of us. So shout out to Dread the Hall H as maybe being too real, man, too real.
There you go.
All right, that is our top 10 for the week. Joel, tell everybody where they can follow you, where they can follow Magma, anything that Magma has coming up that they need to be paying attention to.
So socials, it's Magma Comics, COMIX. So at Magma Comics at Twitter, Instagram. I think we're on Blue Sky, Facebook. Magma Comics, magmacomix.com. I don't do a lot of social media. I'm on Facebook mainly. Matthias and I do a Facebook live show, but yeah, I have an Instagram account. I did 2 posts for a friend 5 years ago, but I used my Instagram account to lurk, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess I'm just busy with all my ventures. But definitely check out
Well,
Magma Comics.
Yes.
On all that, and yeah.
Yeah. And remember, guys, if you saw something on this show that you were interested in, this is stuff that is on final order cutoff this week. So you have until Monday evening or whenever your local comic shop has their order cutoffs to get with them and be like, hey, I want to order this book. It's super important that you let shops know what you want to order ahead of time, especially now that we're in this era of constant distribution changes, so that they have enough time to get everything lined up for you. So again, these are all books that'll be out in 3 to 6 weeks. So call your local comic shop before Monday and say, hey, I want to order this book. And if you don't have a local comic shop, or you don't know where there is one near you, comicshoplocator.com, type in the number of the area where you are, and it will find a local comic shop nearby to you. Or if there's still not an option, you can always contact Matthias at Nowhere Games and Comics, and he is happy to help you as well. So for Matthias, who's currently somewhere probably in the Nevada desert.
And Javier Perez, shout out to Javi as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Javi's there. Hopefully they're not broken down in the middle of the Nevada desert.
God, hopefully not.
Like every movie I've ever seen that people drive from LA or drive from California to Vegas happens. He will be back next week with me. Thank you to Joel for being here. Thank you to Don Handfield for coming. Thank you to everybody for making this happen. We will see everybody later today on the Original Art Experience with special guest Mike Lovitz. Be good to each other. See you next time.
See ya.